This is the being present for 20 minutes challenge for all ASD husbands. You are very task-oriented and you're built for logic with very little emotion involved. Your NT wife is almost built the opposite way. She is largely social and weaves in emotional content frequently and probably excessively according to you. So where can we find a middle road or some type of a connection? Why don't you just turn spending time with your wife into another task? I know this sounds so ridiculous and very non-romantic, but here's your to-do list, for example. Go to work, come home, mow grass, play video game, spend 20 minutes being present with my wife, take shower, watch TV, go to bed. What is being present? I'm going to go in there and spend 20 minutes with her without a cell phone in my hand, without the laptop on my lap, not paying attention to the TV particularly, just mostly looking at and talking with her. Pretty damn simple. You'd be amazed what 20 minutes of being present would do for your marriage. And as ridiculous as this sounds, you could even set a 20-minute timer on your Fitbit watch, on your cell phone, or something like that. In this way, you know that there's some end point. It won't feel like an eternity to you. I know 20 minutes of trying to socialize does feel like 2 hours. And also, this is something that should be done daily. I know this sounds very mechanical and non-romantic to the NT wives listening to this, but it's better than nothing. Better than nothing. So this is the being present for 20 minutes challenge for all ASD husbands, effective today.
Nobody can go through day after day, 365 days a week under high anxiety without searching for some kind of remedy. Unfortunately, in many cases, their anxiety reduction techniques actually create more problems or further their anxiety or drive people away, or can result in school suspension, job loss, divorce, and so on. So they do try to manage their anxiety in healthful ways. They think for example, distracting themselves by engaging in their special interest for excessive amounts of time. Some people turn to marijuana, some people turn to alcohol, various things, and some work to some degree, some don't work at all, and some only work temporarily. But the two main things that they do for anxiety reduction would be, of course, the shutdown, and that is where they just hibernate. They just want to be by themselves and they withdraw, don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to temporarily take a time out and escape from the world. And then the other thing they do, the opposite end of the spectrum of a shutdown, would be the meltdown. So as this anxiety, whatever its cause, builds up and builds up, eventually the dam breaks, so to speak, usually over something very small. It's literally the straw that breaks the camel's back. Under severe enough stress, any normally calm and collected person with Asperger's may become totally out of control and have a huge explosion. And that's usually what people see when they see somebody having a meltdown. So those who experience meltdowns are often perceived by others as always being angry. I hear from neurotypical spouses all the time that their Asperger's husband only shows anger. When he's sad, it shows up as anger. If he's mad, it shows up as anger. If he's depressed, all he displays is anger. Even though they do have several emotions underneath there, they only show the surface emotion, which is anger. Rage may be a common reaction experienced when coming to terms with problems in employment, relationships, friendships, and other areas in life affected by Asperger's. There is often this on-off quality to the person's rage, where the person may be calm minutes later after a meltdown, while the people around are stunned and shocked at what they just witnessed. And so, in this case, the Asperger's man is, after he's had his meltdown, 5 minutes later he's fine, and everybody else is still going, what the hell happened, and they're still in a state of shock. Neurotypical spouses often struggle to understand these meltdowns, with resentment and bitterness often building up over time. In some cases, the Asperger's individual may not even acknowledge he has trouble trouble with rage, and he will blame others for provoking him. And as you can well imagine, this creates a lot of conflict in the marriage.
So a new term for you, BTD syndrome. That's brutal truth denial syndrome. Brutal truth denial. The guy on the autism spectrum thinks, I don't have that disorder. I've looked at an informal quiz online. I don't have those traits. That's not me. I can't have sensory sensitivities, weak central coherence, problems with prediction, executive function deficits. It can't be that I have a disorder that means my emotional age is stunted. It's just not possible. And then she, in this case the NT wife, goes, no, he doesn't have a disorder. He's just a narcissist. He could do better if he just tried harder. Yeah, okay, BTD. Both of y'all are in denial about what's going on. Why is that a problem? Because if you convince yourself that you don't have the disorder, or if you're the NT spouse, you convince yourself that he could do better if he would just try harder, then the both of you make a bunch of false assumptions on what's really going on. And you label it other stuff. The guy on the autism spectrum labels himself as a social failure. The NT wife labels him as being uncaring, selfish, insensitive, narcissistic, sociopathic, and so on. So you end up labeling it something that's not even in the ballpark, which means you have not identified the problem, which means you cannot problem solve. That's a problem.
Both of you may be thinking of the other person, well, that's illogical as hell. I don't know where he comes up with that. He's probably thinking the same thing of you. She's probably thinking the same thing of him. I hear this all the time. You say these guys are so logical. His logic didn't make any sense to me. Of course it wouldn't make any sense to you. So you're either going to agree to disagree. You might be able to strike some kind of a compromise. And you may also want to do a cost-benefit analysis. And I'm specifically referring to the guys here, although the ladies can do a cost-benefit analysis too. But it's especially important for the guys to hear this piece. And what that business is, the cost-benefit analysis is, okay, she wants me to do A, and I really prefer to do B. So I'm going to do a cost-benefits analysis. If I do it my way, if I do B, what's likely to be the outcome? If I do A, go along with her program, what's likely to be the outcome? And you're going to weigh. My suggestion would be to take the path of least resistance. It's not a lose-win. It's a how bad do I want to lose? Do I want to lose big or lose small? If I do it my way and piss her off, it might have been just a whole lot easier just to do it her way. So if you're going to let your pride and ego get in the way and just basically say, screw you, I don't care how mad you get, I'm just going to do it my way. Well, now you're right back to square one again. And you're back in the doghouse as far as she's concerned. So I'm not saying just go along with whatever she wants. But I am saying sometimes it might be in your best interest to do that. And vice versa. Same thing applies to the ladies. If it's going to cause you more pain to stick to your guns than it is to bend a little bit, you may want to bend a little bit. So it's not a win-win. It's kind of a semi-win, semi-win. It's really just an in-depth version of just a compromise, where you're saying, okay, what is going to cause me the least pain? If both options seem painful.
Fake it till you make it? I don't think so. You might be able to do the fake it part, but the make it part is actually lacking. And what is make it? What are you making? Are you making yourself into an NT temporarily? Masking? Yeah. So there's no need to fake anything because you're okay just the way you are. Hello? Is this microphone working? I said you don't need to fake anything because you're okay just the way you are. Whose problem is it? Your behavior. Is it your problem or is it the neurotypicals that you run into? Their problem. Whose problem is it? The answer is both. It's their problem and then they turn it into your problem. And then you have to go about the business of faking. Okay, we don't want to do that anymore. You're okay. You don't need to fake anything. You don't need to mask anything. For those of you who are spiritual as I am, God created you exactly as He wanted you. He didn't want you to be typical, and what the hell is typical? And there's nobody typical. Even neurotypicals are not typical. In fact, I've never met a neurotypical yet that didn't have some ASD level 1 traits. There's no shame involved here with this disorder. Thus, there need not be any shame cover-up. So, a quick message to the autistic husbands out there. Your neurotypical wife's feelings are a fact. If she has particular emotion going on inside of her, that emotion is a fact. For example, let's say that she lost her father recently, and she is grief-stricken at the loss of her father. That sense of loss, that feeling of grief, is literally measurable if they were to do a brain scan. So that feeling is a fact. If she says, for example, I'm feeling sad that I don't get some of my intimacy needs met, that feeling is a fact. And you might say, well, Mark, she said, I feel that you don't love me, and I do love her. That's not a fact. You're right. Because if she says, I feel that you don't love me, that's not a feeling. That's a thought. So sometimes she will say, well, I feel such and such, and it's technically not a feeling, it's a thought. So her thoughts are not necessarily facts, but her feelings are, and so are yours. So when she's expressing her feelings, don't view it as, oh, she's so emotional, and oh, that can't be true. You don't feel that way. No, I'm sure she's not lying about her feelings. If she says she feels a certain way and she's actually using an emotion rather than a thought, she's not lying. That's what's going on. So when she's talking to you about her feelings, don't chalk it off as just a bunch of psychobabble with no factual basis. If you're feeling a particular way, let's say you're feeling mad at her, and I say, no, you don't feel mad. That's not reality. No, you would say, by God, I am mad, and it is a fact that I'm mad. So you understand now that feelings are facts.
A help-rejecting complainer. She doesn't want the problem solved, because whenever the problem is solved, she's lost the thing to complain about, and her big payoff is in the complaint. I fully understand wanting to vent, but if you just want to vent without follow-up with problem solving, I can't help you. If you just want to vent and we're just going to leave it at that, then I'm not interested in listening to your venting. If you want to vent and then we talk about solving the issue, I'm all ears. I'm not trying to be insensitive or uncaring. I'm trying to be a problem solver. If she's not going to be a team player, she just wants to complain, well, I'm not playing that game. I'm not going to be your doormat. And so, okay, whenever you want to tackle the business of actually problem solving, let me know. In the meantime, I'm not going to just sit here and take it. You left the door open then. This isn't a version of you shutting down. You told her you have the option to come back to me when you want to actually problem solve. But you've also set some boundaries. I'm not just going to sit here and let you dump on me. So you're setting boundaries, but you've also left the door open for her. Now she gets to decide. Do I just want to be a help-rejecting complainer? Or do I want to solve the damn thing?